Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. There's a certain comfort to the chase, isn't there? The soft glow of ITV, the music you could hum in your sleep, Bradley's cheeky grin, and those witty moments with the chasers that make you laugh out loud even on the grayest afternoon. For many viewers, especially those of us with more years behind us than ahead, it's not just a quiz show. It's a ritual, a routine, a little slice of normality in a world that so often feels like it's spinning too fast. And on this particular episode, that familiar world was about to turn surprisingly personal. Simon was 64, a retired railway signalman from Cheltenham. He wore a soft brown jumper, spectacles, and spoke in the warm, steady tones of someone who spent the lifetime in schedules, safety, and split-second decisions. When Bradley asked him what he'd do with the money, Simon smiled softly. "I'd like to take my wife to York. We honeymooned there in '83. She's just recovered from surgery and, well, I'd like to see her smile again." The audience gave a gentle cheer. But behind Simon's modesty was a man many underestimated, including his fellow contestants. Simon took to the floor with quiet confidence. "Your time starts now." He answered each question with thought, not haste. He knew his capital cities, his Shakespeare, his 70s pop. By the end, he'd built up £5,000, not show-stopping, but solid. Bradley clapped his hands with pride. "Well done, fella. A thinker. I like it." Simon gave a small nod, adjusting his glasses. No fuss, no arrogance, just readiness. But it was the next moment, the decision about which offer to take, that turned the entire show on its head. That day's chaser was Anne Hegarty, known to millions as the Governess. Sharp, formidable, never flustered. She offered Simon 3 options. The low, £1,000, the middle, £5,000, the high, £60,000. Bradley turned to Simon. "What are you thinking, mate?" Simon didn't hesitate. He folded his arms and calmly said, "I'm taking the 1,000. I want to make it to the final." Silence. Then Jess, another player, a secondary school history teacher in her 30s, shook her head and muttered, "Coward." It wasn't under her breath. It was loud enough for the cameras and Bradley to hear. Bradley turned sharply. "Coward?" he asked, eyes widening. He wasn't angry, just surprised. Simon, to his credit, smiled gently and said, "I've seen enough risk in my life. I'd rather be safe and play." Then came the moment. Bradley shook his head, a mix of awe and disbelief playing on his features. And then, with the audience hanging on his reaction, he said just one word. "Wow." Not sarcastic, not disappointed, just struck. And that word echoed across the country. Immediately after the episode aired, phones buzzed, social media lit up, and the press jumped on the moment. "Bradley's wow says it all," read one headline. But opinion was deeply split. Some viewers said Simon betrayed the team, that he took the coward's way out by shrinking from the challenge. Others, especially older viewers, saw something entirely different. Wisdom. One tweet from a pensioner in Norfolk read, "Simon wasn't a coward. He was brave enough to make his own choice in a world that punishes you for not playing the hero." In a society that often rewards loudness, rashness, and risk, Simon represented something different. He represented carefulness, self-preservation, duty to others. He wasn't playing for a beach holiday or a fancy car. He wanted to help his team win. He'd seen too many good people fall at the final fence by being brave for the cameras. He was the tortoise in a world obsessed with hares. And Bradley, with that one word, saw it. In a later interview, Bradley was asked about that episode. His response? "That fella knew who he was. You gotta respect that. It's easy to shout from the sidelines. It's harder to stand by a decision when everyone's looking at you funny." For those who've worked all their lives, raised families, made hard calls, Simon's choice felt familiar, relatable, even inspiring. He wasn't afraid of the 60,000 pounds, he just didn't need it. Simon made it to the final chase, alongside two others. And in a twist of poetic justice, it was Simon who answered the final question that beat the chaser. The prize? 12,000 pounds split between three players. Jess, the one who had called him a coward, shook his hand. Her face softened. She mouthed, "Sorry." Simon smiled. No grudges, just grace. As we watch moments like this from our armchairs, tea in hand, slippers on, the cat purring nearby, it's easy to forget how much life teaches us about choices. Simon reminded us that not all bravery looks the same. Sometimes bravery is quiet, careful, measured. And sometimes, just sometimes, bravery means choosing the safe option, not because you're scared, but because you're wise. So the next time you're watching the chase and someone chooses the low offer, don't be so quick to judge. They might just be a Simon, quietly doing what's right in a noisy world. And as Bradley said so simply, wow. To understand Simon's decision, it helps to know the man behind it. Simon's working life had been one of responsibility. 40 years in railway signaling, ensuring trains move safely, never missing a beat. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't loud, but it mattered. Every quiet decision carried weight. He'd raised 2 children, looked after his mother until her final days, and cared for his wife through 2 surgeries. So when he stood on the set of The Chase, he wasn't thinking about big risks or headline wins. He was thinking like a man who knew the value of caution and the cost of recklessness. When Simon made his low-offer choice, you could hear a soft gasp ripple through the studio audience, and even some subtle jeering. It was rare. Most audiences on The Chase are polite, if not passive. But in that moment, something cracked open. People projected their own ideas of courage, risk, and reward onto Simon. Some applauded his decision later, but in the heat of that second, he stood alone. And yet, he didn't waver. That is its own kind of strength. Let's ask the hard question. What is a coward really? Is it someone who refuses a challenge? Or is it someone who lacks the courage to make an unpopular decision? Simon knew he'd be judged. He knew younger viewers would mock him online. He knew the dramatic TV moment would pass him by. But he chose what he believed was right, not for show, not for applause, but for survival, for strategy, for the team. In our youth, we chase risks. In our wisdom years, we choose battles more carefully. Watch that clip again, slowly. Bradley Walsh doesn't just say, "Wow." Look at his eyes, the slight narrowing, the pause in his breathing, the softening in his jaw. He's a showman, yes, but he's also a man who's seen thousands of contestants, dozens of moments like this, and knows when something different is happening. In Simon, he saw someone cut from the same cloth as the many unsung heroes he's met off screen. People who never made headlines. People who made decisions that protected, supported, and uplifted others. That wow was reverence. Simon's decision wasn't just personal. It felt generational. He represented a cohort of viewers who grew up valuing modesty over flash, humility over pride, team spirit over individualism. To younger viewers, it was boring or safe. To his peers, it was right. In fact, after the episode aired, letters poured into ITV. Dozens of handwritten notes from pensioners across Britain, thanking Simon for standing firm. "We need more men like Simon on TV," one note read. "He reminded us what dignity looks like," said another.